Dr. Jeff talks love. Dr. Jeff talks life. Answers your questions, cuts through the strife. Sex and intimacy, real and true. Evidence-based, made just for you.
Hello, welcome to Dr. Jeff Talks About Sex and Intimacy, the podcast where we explore anything and everything relevant to sexual health, relationships, and intimacy. Thank you for joining us today live or on the recording for episode 38. Wow, that's amazing. The Dance of Intimacy, Tango Lessons for Love and Relationships. Thank you for being here with us for this important topic. I am so truly grateful for each and every one of the listeners. So if you have a partner right now, feel free to cuddle up together. Or if you're listening by yourself, make yourself comfortable and ready to listen and to learn. I want to remind you, September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And I want to acknowledge the many brave people out there living with prostate cancer and who are prostate cancer survivors. You are true heroes. You truly are. And it has been an honor and privilege to be a part of your healing journey. So thank you for that. Now, prostate cancer is the number one non-skin cancer in men, affecting 1 in 8 men in their lifetime. Last Sunday, I participated in the Zero Chicago Run Walk, prostate cancer run walk here with others. It was a wonderful event in Lincoln Park. And thank you to all those who supported that walk and my amazing prostate cancer support group, my Zero Prostate Cancer Support Group at Gilda's Club Chicago, which is a awesome place you can go if you need support in terms of all kinds of programs. If you are a cancer survivor or struggling through a cancer diagnosis, Gilda's Club is amazing. I have been running this support group on and off for over a decade, and Gilda's Club is very supportive. They have wonderful yoga, all kinds of great stuff. So wonderful resource, and everything's free there. So the 5-year survival rate for prostate cancer is about 98%, which is awesome. And because most of the time prostate cancer is caught early, but sexual dysfunction is the main long-term side effect, whether treated with surgery, radiation, or androgen deprivation. And that's why this podcast is so important, and part of what we do is for the prostate cancer community, and we appreciate you so much. So Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, get screened, get checked. It's really important. If you are a person with a penis, a prostate, you need to have screening done. I've been having it done since I turned 40, and you can decide with your doctor what works for you. So we are out there on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on X, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Kick. So if you are a Kick viewer and you need to submit a question, you can go to X, you can go to LinkedIn, Facebook, you can go to StreamYard, Kick, and submit your question there on the other streaming platforms as well. If you are a Facebook person, the more people who follow us on Facebook, the more we can do on Facebook. So please, please follow us on Facebook if you're a Facebook person. Go to the website if you want to learn more and see all the incredible guests that we have had, the topics that you can learn from. All of them are available on the website. You can also pull up the calendar and see what's coming up all the way through the end of the year. We have some unbelievable guests that will be joining me, and you can look at the calendar and see who's coming and what you might be interested in. The website has it all, so please visit us there. You can listen to us. You can listen to the podcast while you're working out. You can listen to it in the car. You can listen to it wherever you are. We're there with you. We are on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music. Wherever you are, we are streaming with you. So please tune in there. Just want to remind you, as we always do, that everyone is welcome here. Whatever your sexual orientation, whatever your relationship style, your gender identity, you are so welcome here in this space to learn. We love you and we're glad you joined us. So please feel most welcome. The goal of the podcast is really pretty simple. It is to empower you and enlighten you with scientific based, evidence based information to improve your sexual health and deepen your relationship so you can live that one miraculous, wholehearted life you've been given to the fullest. And I hope you do. So today, I'm so excited about this episode. Today we step onto the dance floor of relationships with a very special conversation, the dance of intimacy, tango lessons for love and relationships. Just as the tango requires rhythm, connection, and trust between partners, so too does intimacy in our lives. Very important. My guest, Dr. Jeannette Potts, brings her expertise, wisdom, and passion to help us to explore how the principles of tango can teach us about love, communication, and navigating relationships with grace. So my guest tonight, I am so thrilled to have my colleague, Dr. Jeannette Potts. She is a physician, researcher, author, and internationally recognized speaker with a unique passion for the art of healing and the art of tango. Trained in family medicine, she has dedicated her career to advancing men's and women's health, with particular expertise in prostate disease, chronic pelvic pain, and sexual wellness. In addition to her medical work, Dr. Potts is an accomplished tango dancer and teacher. She weaves together her clinical knowledge and her love of dance, love that, to illuminate the parallels between intimacy and movement, showing how presence, being present, listening, attunement on the dance floor can deepen connection in relationships. So without further ado, I am so excited to welcome Dr. Jeannette Potts. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, Jeff. Thank you very much for inviting me. And
Well,
I also still have one of your books too.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes. So I have your book and I enjoyed it so much. And it's always been fun when I see you and collaborating a bit. So I couldn't be more excited about this incredible topic this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you and share with the audience.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, this will just be a very brief overview of some of the lessons I have learned from tango. So I just want everyone to realize that these are like what I gleaned. It's very personal, but I hope that in sharing it, there will be some aspects that resonate with you. Um, this lecture is also excerpted from several types of events because there's wide application for Argentinian tango in all aspects of our lives. I've used this metaphor for executive retreats, for leadership workshops, for physician-patient relationships, because all of the building blocks of the dance are useful for active listening. And of course, it would be the basis for an intimate relationship as well. Most people think of tango, as a very sexual, but it's very sensual, and it has evolved over years from being a dance where only the men learned how to dance and then they led it, to women who may or may not know how to do the dance. And it's evolved to a point where it's more of a team effort and more of a collaborative type of experience. And it's never choreographed. No two dances are the same, even with the same person. And just to bear in mind, the leader, typically a male, but women can lead too, are choosing the instrument. They can lead to the bandoneon, they can lead with the violin, they can lead to the bass. There is no percussion unless it's nouvelle or more modern tango. But the person who is leading can change those instruments however they wish. It's a very spontaneous form of choreography. And the follower, usually female, but it could be two men, it could be a woman leading a man, etc. There is a give and take. It's 100% lead and follow. But as you will see later, there are some hybridizations of that. Well, the dance begins with an embrace, and the tango embrace is an invitation to create and explore a shared intention. So I think of this in any type of relationship, in an enterprise, a business, or a partnership. You want to have a mission statement, you have a shared intention, and you are agreeing in the embrace to proceed. In the embrace in tango, it's usually the lead who is inviting the person to dance and opens and welcomes to the embrace. And it's the follower who dictates the distance of the embrace. So we have close embrace dancing and we have open embrace dancing. And open embrace dancing is usually necessary for doing more figures or things that are a little bit more decorative and like high kicks and such. Gavito was a very famous contemporary tango dancer, and now he is deceased. He also was the person who trained Robert Duvall to dance tango. And I don't know if many of you know, but Robert Duvall is a huge tango aficionado and dancer himself. But Gavito has said that the leader takes the follower into himself as if she is his own back rib. This is not because it's a physical force or that the partner is being squeezed. It's because of the notion of protection and moving as one. So this is about the role of the leader in terms of a strength, but not necessarily a power over the follower. It's an accountability. And here is just a little visual of that, which brings us to leadership. The leadership is not all about strength and power. It requires, first of all, self-awareness. For no one who dances should dance beyond their capability. It isn't safe, much less lead. So in tango, the leader needs to be aware of his own axis, because that axis is what is necessary to lead the dance and protect the follower's axis. And I want you to be aware that when I use the term axis on the dance floor, I actually translate that in life to integrity. So what I consider one's axis in being able to dance in a partnership responsibly, I liken to having integrity off the dance floor. The leadership requires a great deal of listening, being able to understand at what level each dancer is capable. Where is that person meeting them, where they are at that moment. For those women listening who have ever danced in New York City, you all may know Ko. And when Ko dances with you, he actually pauses to synchronize his breathing with yours. And dare I say, I almost feel like my heartbeat changes as well. It's a really wonderful practice of being present. And leading is an invitation. It's not a push or pull. A lot of the dance steps are actually begun with the partner or with the leader inviting the person. So when the motion is set, there's an invitation. And so you do go around, you do make the pivot, and you may even make a complete circle or two around the partner as he spins and pivots as well. Most importantly, leadership is without force, and without coercion. So that whole image of this machismo and this overwhelming power over the follower is a myth. That just would never work as a tango, and it could never work in social dancing. And we know in reality that those things don't necessarily work well in a partnership. So what tango leadership really requires is empathy. Empathy would be the key ingredient to being the lead, whether you're alternating the lead as the female leading or if you are the male lead in the partnership. Anytime we want to take the lead in a partnership or in a team, we have to have empathy for others. But what about following? Over the years, I've gotten a little frustrated that, our culture, our literature is replete with messages about leadership. Among those, one of my favorite books is about Shackleton and leadership. But, most of us, most of the time, are following. And following is not passive. Following is not weakness. When I dance tango, I definitely do not feel weak or passive. The follower also requires her own access and her strength. And by being a good follower, raises the bar of the dance. So any of us are following in an enterprise or in a partnership, we are holding our leader accountable. We're raising the bar. We're also demonstrating resilience as a team or partnership when things don't go our way. And this, I think, is something that we need to talk more about. And this is something that I look forward to expanding upon when I do an upcoming lecture with Suna and other workshops, because I think that we need to see following as much of a virtue as leading. This brings me to the term of surrender, because when you're actually listening and allowing the dance to progress and move you, as a follower especially, you are surrendering. But in English, surrender often conjures a sense of defeat, a sense of resignation, and again, a sense of weakness. But I would submit to you the translation in Spanish of surrendering as when one delivers, entregar, one delivers herself or himself to a lover. This is by no means something passive. It is something filled with strength and faithfulness. And I really always imagine that term, and it fills me with a happiness and a sense of power, that I can recognize this ability to surrender, which I think is important for all types of relationships, but especially an intimate one. And this is my aphorism, sort of taken after Sally Potter's aphorisms, that the abandon with which a woman follows or surrenders is proportional to the respect and protection provided by the leader. And the lead, again, is not tentative, nor is it coercive. And, again, just celebrating the fact that we are so strong and so resilient that we can be vulnerable and we can surrender. So how do we achieve this dynamic in the dance or off the dance floor? Well, we have to bear in mind the most important rule in tango. The most important rule is do not anticipate. This is especially told to women who are starting to learn the dance, but it applies sometimes to men, because sometimes the woman or the follower does not do the step the way he is expecting it to be done, and he has to take over and begin a lead from that position, sort of like a chess match. He was expecting a certain move, so he was already choreographing ahead or anticipating, but in fact, she may choose to take the dance in a slightly different direction. And so he too cannot anticipate. There's nothing wrong with being prepared, which is a virtue, but to anticipate is a negative. Because when I do these presentations, I'm usually doing them in conjunction with live dance. So when I get to this part of my presentation, I demonstrate what anticipating looks like to the audience. And in it, I am just guessing or thinking that I'm brilliant because my lead has wanted a certain type of move. He wanted reverse ochos. He wanted a molinete. And I'm so brilliant because I'm going to carry it out, not paying attention to what he's actually leading and how differently he may want that move to go. So I show this and it just becomes a boring, repetitive dance. It becomes a different kind of pattern. But here, instead, if I take a split second to pause and really listen and get out of my head, get out of my ego, all of a sudden the dance begins to evolve. There are steps I didn't even expect. There might be steps I never even learned, but now my repertoire is increasing and my dialogue and my language is enhanced because of the listening. And it leads the dance in a more fun and clever way. Anticipation on the dance floor and outside in the real world interrupts the sentence. It truncates the conversation and it stagnates the dance. So this is paramount. I mean, just think of how many times one thinks that they're doing another a favor because they can finish the other sentence and interrupt and guess what they're going to say. Or in a dispute or argument, you can hear yourself saying, oh, here we go again. And the pattern is set up rather than really listening and trying to see, well, maybe this conversation will go in a different direction. Maybe we both can grow by not interrupting. And this reminds me of Gary Chapman, who wrote the books about love languages. And in one part of, can't remember which book it was, but he says that there are times when we think someone's listening to us, or we believe we are listening, when in fact, all we are doing is pausing to reload our verbal guns. And just remember that, I try to remind myself often that even if I have an excellent point that I think I need to make during a discussion, I realize if it's important after the person finishes, I will remember. And we should never be interrupting because we think that this brilliant idea needs to come out now, because then we're really not listening. I have a book chapter that's called Don't Look at Your Feet, Look Into My Eyes, which is another part of listening. When tango dancers are taking lessons, a lot of times they are looking at the teacher's feet, thinking about how to place the feet in order to carry out a certain maneuver. But in fact, the lead is coming from the chest or from the heart. So the lesson really should be focusing on where that force or centripetal force is being derived to lead that dance move. But instead, we get caught up in the feet. Or similarly, when we're first learning to dance, we look down at our feet instead of paying attention to what the leader is conveying to us through his heart, or the leader not listening to what we are conveying in return from our hearts. When I think of this off the dance floor, I think of how many times we get caught up on words. We trip or misstep on the words, when in fact our intention may be entirely good. Our intention may be to apologize or to want clarification or want to work on a misunderstanding. But if we get caught up in certain words and we trip up, sometimes we're no longer looking at that person in their eyes or listening to their heart. So I would submit to you also that next time you find yourself in this sort of situation, give the other person the benefit of the doubt, and know that their heart means one thing, but they may have not used the proper words. Look into their eyes to see what they may really mean. Um, and there may be a better understanding and perhaps less anger. When we dance, we also try to always keep our hearts in front of one another. So there are a lot of exercises to keep us pivoted so that from the waist up, we're usually face to face or chest to chest. And the bottom of our bodies can go in other directions, actually to make circles and other types of figures around each other. So this is paramount again to listening to one another and pausing and really stopping and turning. For example, in our home, um, like everywhere else, everyone is busy. And when my partner enters the room to talk to me about something, sometimes if I'm cooking, I'll turn the stove off and turn my body so that I'm actually facing him. And he sometimes just takes his computer screen and shuts it so that way, we are facing each other and there's nothing in between us that is, altering or obstructing our communication. And here are just some examples. Again, I really like to be demonstrating these things with music and dance. It makes for a very lovely and memorable way to digest the lessons. Um, so there is an advanced form of leading that's called interleading, and I was introduced to this in Argentina. It's not to be confused with backleading. Backleading is when the follower, usually a woman, takes over the lead in a very aggressive way. Um, this happens, I could see these like at weddings, husbands don't dance, the woman wants to dance. So she kind of like really, gets him going and tries to make him move the way she wants him to move. That is a form of backleading. In Argentinian tango, if a woman backleads, she will not be asked to dance again because this is a very different type of concept. There's a lot of respect involved here. So when one is interleading, you cue the leader that you want to play, that you want to have a greater role in the choreography of the dance. And if the leader is receptive, this makes for great fun. It increases the suspense for him as well. And you can all see where this translates into different life situations, particularly romantic situations. But the audience would never know. In other words, when the follower or the woman is taking the lead or stealing the lead from the man, there is still the illusion of him leading, so that it is not something that is showing a power struggle or a domination. And I use this a lot in my practice because I have almost an exclusively male practice for the past 2 decades. And when I'm taking care of men with urological issues, which are already in and of themselves very threatening to their personhood and their masculinity, I take extra care not to further emasculate them in this situation. So interleading has been a practice for me throughout my career. I am the expert, I am the authority. Nevertheless, I allow my patient to continue to be in the driver's seat. I think I do a very high level of what's called shared decision making in doing so. So for me, interleading is the ultimate shared decision making process. And there's a beautiful paradox with interleading. The interleading questions are to the leader: are you strong enough to be led, to allow yourself to be led, to follow? And if a woman or a person who is typically following wants to take over that lead for whatever reason, power, prestige, what have you, but are you sensitive enough to lead? And I think that this is something we can address intimately as well. Um, it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable and to be sensitive to our partners. And at the same time, taking control or responsibility over a certain circumstance, a situation in the relationship takes a great deal of empathy. Um, when I was first starting to tango dance, which was over 20 years ago, there was a woman, Viviana Tango. She was also famous for selling beautiful shoes that she brought back with her from Argentina. And she and her husband had quite an adventure. I mean, they left Argentina together with their children, having nothing, and starting an auto repair shop. And she used to tell us when she would give us our lessons that if we could create a strong enough axis as a couple, then we didn't need as many feet on the floor. In other words, if you had both great balance and integrity together, and now you became a four-legged animal rather than a two-legged animal, you can together require fewer feet on the floor to execute great stunts in tango. And that also just really resonated with me about a couple, and one being grounded and one being a dreamer, and one taking chances and the other keeping things in balance. And here you can see when we're dancing, there's only one foot on the ground because my partner there and I have very good access together. We can dance this way and take chances, and we can allow each other to do different kinds of moves, or we can give each other opportunities to take turns. And we also learn not to blame anyone else for the missed opportunities. It's a shared risk management, so to speak. And that is the end of my presentation. I could go on and on. I tried to make this more abbreviated so that Jeff and I could have more of a conversation. Thank you.
Oh gosh, so many good things in there, definitely. And it's so amazing how it parallels relationships and all of those things. Especially I was touched by the thought of everything that you do impacts your partner, your stance, your center. Every single thing impacts the other. So there's a reaction to each of those actions. And so aligning and moving together and flowing together is incredibly important in the end, you know?
Mhm.
So I thought that was really interesting. But yet, there's going to be differences. There's always differences, and there's different strengths. But if we bring different strengths to the table, the ultimate axis is stronger because of that, you know?
Exactly. There's an illusion in tango, that people are leaning against one another, or that the woman is really leaning on the man and he's controlling everything. The fact of the matter is that when because men confide in me about this, when they are dancing with someone who does not have her own axis, if she doesn't have good core strength, if she is really passive, he cannot do, she's very heavy, his shoulder gets sore, his back gets sore, and he cannot do any kind of movements with her because she is too heavy, you know and it has nothing to do with her body habitus. And then you have a woman who has an amazing axis. Now all of a sudden this leader can do a little move like this, and now her leg is going up in the air, and all those kicks that you see in tango, the woman does not generate those are generated by the centripetal force of the lead. And the
Wow.
woman surrenders and her leg goes up because he knows which leg to displace. He knows which leg has the weight on it. So
Mm.
anyway, it's important to be both strong.
Yeah, and it was because I was thinking like that last picture where there's one foot on the ground. If you weren't centered and your axis wasn't really clear, everybody's going down. There's no doubt about it. So it's like it's not like, oh, he can make that all happen. Each person is central to that. because I was looking at that and thinking, wow, if you weren't exactly in the right place, in the right space, you could really throw things off for that partner or both of you. So
Yes. Yes.
lots of cool things in there for sure. Also, I was thinking so much about how you said these messages came through really clearly. Pause,
Mhm.
listen, get out of your own head. We're so caught up in our own head, we can't really be present when we're so caught up in our own head. And then ultimately fall into the flow of the present moment of what's happening with you and that person.
Mhm. Yes.
Really powerful messages for relationships as well. And I think but I do think we all tend to get in our own head, and it's so not helpful. And so when I work with my couples, especially, even you talked a lot about listening and not anticipating, but being receptive and all those different things that are so important. And I think so often, just as you said, when we're listening, we're creating our defensive case of, no, wait, I'm thinking this, or we may even be excited about it and be like, but what about, but we're not in the moment with our partner that they're in right then, and discovering that moment with them and allowing it to unfold. We're anticipating our thoughts, what we want, and how we want the conversation to go next.
Mhm.
And Gottman, they use an acronym called ATTUNE. And I was thinking of that when you started speaking, and it's so funny because it was in my head. Now, part of it is awareness, but one of the T's is turning towards, which is exactly what you do with your husband when you kind of turn the stove off and turn back towards him. He turns the computer off, and you acknowledge each other without all the stuff in between, and
Mhm.
give each other the gift of presence. Um,
Yes.
so cool.
Yeah. Um, I love it.
Mhm. Definitely, definitely. And so I think those things are some really important messages, and we really do try to let that resonate with our couples when we're working with couples. And in my couple training with Gottman and also with Andrew Christensen, I did train with him as well, with integrative behavioral couple therapy. But both things, it's very much about empathetically joining with your partner. I always say, when you're ready, when you're in a space where you as desperately want to know and understand your partner's perspective and paradigm as you want them to understand and know yours, you can't lose now. You're going to discover some wonderful things, and come to a better place in your relationship.
Mhm. Indeed. And I just really hope that this resonates with the audience in terms of, the stereotypes that we have for men, of always having to be strong and invulnerable. These are things that are cheating them out of wonderful fulfillment. And the same thing with women, that we can assert ourselves, but we sometimes have to keep our respect in check too. Because I think sometimes there is a little bit of an overcompensation, which, given our history, is valid. But once you get to a certain level of awareness, again, it's like tango. When you start dancing, one of the mantras is that it's always the leader's fault. Any mistake on the dance floor, it's always the leader's fault. And so
Mm,
the real mensch on the dance floor, they have no problem. They're not defensive. They'll just, whatever happens, they'll be like, that was my fault.
mm,
Well, as a woman becomes more advanced, you start realizing, hey, you know what? It's like you're dancing, you're like, wow, you made a great recovery because I just did a major screw up. And,
mhm.
and people are so grateful to, and sometimes it's necessary. And I think I became a lot more appreciative. I hope I was appreciative in the beginning, but I became all the more appreciative when I took lessons as a lead. And then I realized, oh my gosh. And that's actually how this book and all these metaphors came about, because I was taking lessons and I was taking notes on how I can execute these moves, how I can make these things happen. And then as I was notes, I'm thinking, oh, tomorrow I should apply this when I go into clinic, and tomorrow I apply this when I have my meeting with my chairman, and and I'm going to think about this when I'm talking to my children, you know. So that's how it all began.
Mm. And you think, wow, if we stay in that moment and we trust, I hear trust coming through strongly with what you're saying. If we trust each other and believe in that moment and what we can co-create, then all this beautiful grace comes out of it in this wonderful dance. And same thing happens in relationships. But we can all, but like you said, we can get lost in our head in our own path, but we don't get to experience the beauty and wonder of that relationship and that energy that comes, that synergy that comes from both people working together, which is so exciting.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, and when I talk about, I'm sorry, what I was just going to mention one
No,
thing
go
when you
ahead.
said,
No, go ahead.
the trust is, you know, there's that fine line between being a trusting person and then, you know, the fear of being naive and, you know, and maybe misplacing your trust
Mm.
in the wrong person. But the other thing that I would want to remind people about is their resilience. And again, everyone has to know their own personality. But I think, you know, when you go out and you're about to dance with a stranger, it could be a terrible dance. But guess what? You're strong enough to recover from it. But then when you like really let yourself be in that moment and be part of that dance, sometimes there are these dances where you think, I wish someone had videotaped that. It's like a Mandela. It's gone forever. It's blown in the wind. But you had that experience. And so again, I realize it's a personality trait, whether you want to be a bigger risk taker or not. But I think there's some benefits to allowing yourself from time to time to be so vulnerable.
Mm. And vulnerability is the only path to love and intimacy and deep rooted connection. So makes a lot of sense. Well, I've got a couple questions. So here's the first one. In Tango, one partner leads and the other follows, but there's also a constant exchange from what you said. How does this dynamic reflect healthy balance in intimacy and love?
Well, because over time, the follower is not always following. The follower is setting it up in the next phase, like a chess match. And I don't mean to make it sound like an adversarial type of issue. I do, but I do like the chess the chess analogy, because it does it exercises your intellect too. Like, well, what's going to happen next? I think about, like, you know, hiking in rough terrain, and how it's not only physically challenging, but that each step you take, there's problem solving involved, and how intellectually stimulating that can be. So that's how I see the dance evolving, that it doesn't have to be strictly lead and follow as it continues and it progresses.
Excellent. Next question was, how can movement, touch, and body awareness, like in Tango, help my wife and I reconnect emotionally and physically when intimacy has been strained?
Oh, I think it's lovely that a couple would consider doing any type of dance together, but I am particularly biased about tango. All dance is great. In fact, if you want to do any dance because you like a particular music or you admire a specific style, by all means, salsa, merengue, you know, polka, all of those things. But in tango, the man is walking usually, and so even men who say, "Oh, I have no rhythm," or "I can't move my hips," well, tango may be the thing for him. And a woman would be, most of the time, we're going backwards, but we're, you know, trusting that that the man is looking behind us and guiding us in the line of dance. I think that taking lessons privately has its pros and cons. You could advance a little more quickly, and it might be a way of almost having a secret marriage therapy through your dance experience. But the group dance may be a way of anonymously trying to uh, experience this, experience this without any pressure or without any, higher expectation. Like, what if one of the persons loves it and the other one doesn't? Um, I would explore both options, private or group lessons, and then practicing, because a lot of the tango you have to practice even alone. Women who their partners aren't their dance partner, we practice alone.
Mm.
And that enhances our access. And a lot of men I've met who are single or their wife doesn't dance tango, they study videos and they practice all of these things and take classes on leadership. So what we also do in tango, which is interesting, is sometimes we separate the leaders from the followers, so that the leaders take one class, and then this way, when the group is put together, the leader, it can be more confident of actually knowing that he is capable or she is capable of leading, because that person, the partner, was not in the same room. Because if you're the follower and you take the same class, you end up coaching the person, like, oh, well, no, and now move this, now do this, now do that. And this way, men can really have more confidence that they're leading. So I know I went off on a little tangent there. I'm sorry to that couple for their question that I went off.
No, it's good. It's good. And I was thinking, as they said, to reconnect through touch and body awareness, using some sensate focus, and then, maybe taking the emphasis off of their genitals and the typical penetration or intercourse, and refocusing on just every part of the body and exploring and really just enjoying touch and sensualness through dance or through whatever. Sensate Focus was designed by Masters and Johnson to kind of rediscover the sensualness of each other. So there's so many ways that you could do that, but I think that is excellent. And I think that so there's a challenge. Think about a dance class. That would be kind of cool.
Yes.
And to our listeners, definitely.
Well, and one time I was doing a workshop. It was a 3-day workshop. And one of the exercises we did was we played a brief movement from a popular symphony. And I had the audience members, it didn't matter if they were coupled or not, I had the audience members pair up and place their fingertips against each other. And they were to interpret the music standing face to face with their eyes closed. And it was just so fun for many people to experience changing the lead. Like the music is moving you in a certain way, and you want to move a certain way, but you're conscious that you don't want to lose the other person's fingertips. You don't want to lose the other person's touch. But you're interpreting the music together and individually, but you're sharing it with the other person. And I really, I wanted to do that exercise again, and I haven't found the correct forum to do that again. But that's another thing too, to just closing your eyes and sharing. I have my favorite piece of music. You have your favorite piece of music. Let's close our eyes and I'll interpret it for you. And you can also push me a little bit if you want to add something just with your hands.
Yeah, experience it together. That's great. Gosh, it's just been such a beautiful, wonderful episode. I love all the analogies. I love the pictures, the dancing. It's a shame. It would have been great if you could have done a little bit of dancing as well, like you do when you present. But I just think it was a great episode, and I love all the analogies that you brought into helping enrich our listeners' relationships and deepen those relationships. So very exciting. I am going to do a little centering exercise to bring people back into their bodies like we do at this point in the podcast each time. So that's where we're headed. So let's take a moment to pause and bring this conversation back into your own body. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. Begin by noticing your breath. Inhale slowly through your nose, about 3 or 4 counts. Exhale gently through your mouth. As you continue that breathing pattern, now imagine you're stepping onto a quiet dance floor. There's no music yet, only your heartbeat setting the rhythm. Feel your feet grounding you, connecting you to the floor beneath you. With your next breath, picture a partner approaching. It might be someone you love, or simply imagine the presence of connection to yourself. As you inhale, imagine opening space in your chest for trust and closeness. As you exhale, let go of tension or resistance. Allow yourself to sense the subtle balance between leading and following, between giving and receiving. Feel into that dance of intimacy where presence, listening, and responsiveness matter more than perfection. Take one more slow, deep breath. In your nose, out your mouth, and carry with you the reminder that intimacy, like tango, isn't about getting every step right. It's about showing up with openness, curiosity, and connection. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and return to your day with that rhythm of connection in your heart and carry it forward. It has been a wonderful episode, and we'd like to tell you a little bit about what's coming up next week. Here it is.
In this episode, Dr. Jeff talks with pioneers Sue Goldstein and Dr. Irwin Goldstein of San Diego Sexual Medicine. They share the latest breakthroughs in sexual health, from new treatments for erectile dysfunction and low desire in men to innovative therapies for female pain, arousal disorders, and hormonal health. This conversation covers it all. It delivers hope and clarity for those seeking answers, and it offers evidence-based science for patients, partners, and providers alike. Join us on September 30th at 7 p.m. Central Time to learn more.
Well, it has been an awesome episode, and your message has come through loud and clear, Dr. Potts. So thank you so much for joining me. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. This was wonderful, and you did a beautiful job of interpreting all of these nuance. Really, I'm very excited to have done this with you.
It's just such a great episode, and I hope you listeners remember all those important, great messages. So many good things in there, but mostly openness, being open to the moment, being fully present in the moment, and engaging in this one beautiful life that you're experiencing right now. We thank you for joining us, and have a good one.
Dr. Jeff talks about sex